Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is time for another off-grid cooking with nothing but shelf-stable items. We're going to make dinner for the whole family and maybe some guests based on things that I can dig out of my prepper's pantry. That means nothing out of the refrigerator. Everything has to be completely shelf-stable. And we're cooking with just off-grid cooking methods because we are simulating what happens when the lights go out but you still got to make dinner. I just got another variety case from Keystone Meats that's got all the things that we're going to need to add some protein into this dinner. Folks at Keystone have been great supporters of this content, and they wanted me to emphasize that Keystone Meats is great for summer cooking. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do a recipe that's going to be hearty and filling and delicious, we hope, but it's going to be a lighter variety of something that's a lot of people's favorite. Today we are making chicken chili. So first thing we're going to need is some chicken. Where's the chicken? No, that's not chicken. That's not chicken. There's chicken. Right there. Now I know this sounds like a commercial, but it's not. But I absolutely love these Keystone Meats. The fact that they taste so good and they are nothing but meat and salt that's put in that can and cooked, you can't beat that because it gives you so much capability to do whatever you want with that. So first off, let's look and see what we're going to need to make our off-grid chicken chili. Of course, we have to have the star of the show, our chicken. We're going to need some chicken broth, some green chilies. We're going to need some cans of white beans. We're going to go with 3. We're going to need some onions. We're going to need some dried cilantro. We're going to need salt and pepper, garlic, chili powder, paprika. We're going with smoked paprika. I've got some cilantro lime pepper salt that's going to add an extra little kick. And we've got one new ingredient to introduce. We have Hoosier Hill Farm cream cheese powder. A lot of the recipes for white chicken chili call for cream cheese. So since we're in a blackout, we don't have any refrigerated cream cheese, we're going to go with that. So we want to round out the meal by adding a side that will go perfectly with this chili. In order to do that, we're going to make some cornbread. Now, one of the things about making cornbread is it does tend to rely a lot on fresh ingredients, things like eggs and milk. So that's why I stock the pantry with things like this Martha White cornbread mix that only requires water. So we don't have to worry about fresh milk or using canned milk. All we got to do is add some water into that. But that's not where we're going to stop. But in order to bulk it up and to add a little bit of liquid into it, so we're not going to need quite as much water, we're going to add sweet cream corn into it. So we got our cornbread mix that only needs water and some cream corn. So because this is going to take a little while to cook, we're going to start with that. Let's get this mixed up and then we're going to throw it in the Coleman camp oven. Brought along a little bit of water because I'm not sure exactly how much we're going to need once we add that cream corn in there. I love the availability of these kind of mixes that you don't need anything but water. This is perfect for your prepper's pantry. Now, they don't have a super long shelf life to them because they probably contain powdered milk, but this one's good for a couple years at least. As long as you're rotating these out at some point and keeping them fresh, you should be okay. I mean, let's be honest about this. This is not something where I'm stocking food for 25 years. I'm stocking food for these little disasters like blackouts. Not to mention, in an SHTF situation, the first couple of years, you're still going to be eating the stuff out of your pantry. Let's add some of this in here. I'm not going to add all of it. The mix only calls for like a 1/4 cup of water. Mix in a little bit of that. That looks pretty good right there. Move this out of the way and got an idea for using the rest of that later. Now the good thing about these little bags of the cornbread mix is that it's not going to be really thick in here. We don't really want to try to make a cornbread that's too thick because when you're using off-grid cooking methods, you don't want to burn up any more fuel than you have to. We only want to use as much as we need to, so keeping the cornbread a little bit thin is going to be the way to go. We don't want this to have to go in the oven for an hour. Now it's time to get the Coleman camp oven set up so we can get to baking. Okay, let me show you guys a new addition in here. One of the problems with these Coleman camp ovens and others like it is they're terribly inefficient when it comes to heat. There's not any real insulation here. Now you can get an insulated bag that'll go over the top of it, but here is another option that you can try inside. Now this was something that was recommended by a viewer. You simply get a 10-inch pizza stone and put it inside. This acts as a diffuser that allows the heat to go up and around as opposed to just coming straight up. That way, food is less prone to burning. So we're going to let the oven come up to temperature, then we're going to get the cornbread in there and let it start baking. And once the bread's done, we're going to move on to the chili. So here is our cornbread. Get a gander at how beautiful that is. Let me cut off a piece of it and try it. There it is. Nice and tender, steaming hot. Let's give it a taste. That's good stuff. That's going to be a perfect addition to that chili. Speaking of that, let's get on with it. Before we get started on the chili, I've got some new cookware that I just got. Wanted to get something specifically to keep out here in the studio and use for these recipes. And the other day, I got in a shipment from Cooker King. Let's open this thing up and see what's in it. Cooker King. By the way, I've been getting a lot of questions about the cookware I was using before, so I imagine I'll get some about this. So there'll be a link down below so that you can see exactly what it is I'm using. Also, when I got this, I asked folks at Cooker King for a discount code, and they generously offered. So go down there, follow that link, use the discount code to see how much this is going to be with my discount. So we got lids. This is interesting. Those are flat lids. I'm so used to curved lids, but I like the robust feel of it. That's good stuff. So before I do anything at all with this stuff, I'm going to take it inside and wash it up real quick. We'll be right back. I'm getting so hungry, and smelling this cornbread baking in here has been driving me nuts. Let's get cooking. Let's open up this chicken. I don't think I've used the chicken yet. I think I've used the pork, the turkey, and both types of beef, but I don't think I've gotten to use chicken yet. Kind of excited about this. Let's get this in here and see what we're messing with. That is smelling yummy. Let's bust this up a little bit. Get down in there. All right, let's turn on some heat. So we don't really need to worry about letting the chicken cook before we can start adding anything else into it. So let's get our other ingredients in here. But let me grab something real quick. Let me try this. Let's grab a piece of this chicken. That is tasty chicken. Straight out of the can, nothing added to it. That's good stuff. Start by getting some onions in there. Let's finish that off. Let's get our chicken stock in there. Let's add all of that. So we got plenty of liquid to work with. Let's get our green chilies in there. I love cooking with green chilies. I'm going to throw all of that in there. Now these are mild green chilies. They're not going to spice this up too much. Start adding our beans. I'm going to add the liquid in there too. Help thicken things up and keep us from having to add any water. Because remember, in a disaster, every little bit counts. You know, that's already looking like plenty, just like it is. So I'm not going to add that third can of beans. We'll keep it on reserve. If it starts looking like we need it later, we'll use it. But for now, we're just going to leave it out. Let's get some seasoning in here. Start with our smoked paprika. This is going to give us the paprika flavor, but also bring some smoke. Got us a little black pepper. Of course, we got to have garlic. Can't have chili without chili powder. Then we're going to add some cilantro leaves. And I don't think I mentioned this earlier. I completely missed one. We're going to add some cumin. We're going to pretend I covered that earlier. Don't tell anybody. We make mistakes sometimes. It's what we do with them that matters, right? I throw in a little bit of this cilantro lime pepper salt. Not a lot. Just enough to give it a little zing. I'm going to put in the rest of this water we already poured up. And I'm going to throw in the rest of our cream corn. Lots of recipes for white bean chicken chili call for corn, so we'll just use the rest of that. Why waste it? Stir it up. All right, let's set the lid on here and let these flavors start getting to know each other. And while it's cooking for a little bit, this is probably as good a time as any to remind you that if you like this kind of content, be sure and give us a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring that notification bell to be made aware of all upcoming videos. And just like we're going to be feeding on this chili in a little bit, feed the algorithm. Leave a comment and tell me what you think of this recipe. If you're a fan of the Keystone meats, if you're a fan of chicken chili, it doesn't really matter. All you got to do is say hi. Every little bit helps, feeds the algorithm, lets YouTube know that more people should be seeing these videos. If you're loving this channel and you want to help it grow, those are the ways you can do it. So I'm going to let this stuff cook for a little bit, and we're going to get back in here and see what we've got. So far, I'm really loving this Cooker King setup. I love the overall design of it. The wife saw it and fell in love. I think I'm going to have a problem if I think I'm going to keep this stuff out here in the studio and not let her use it. We'll see how that goes. Y'all wish me luck. So the chili's boiling now, so we're going to take the lid off and let it cook down a little bit. We're going to let that liquid evaporate off, let it thicken up a little bit, and let those flavors continue to get to know each other. So our chicken chili's been going for a pretty good while. I'm going to give it a little taste test and see where we're at. That looks yummy. Smells pretty yummy too. All right, let's give that a try. Ooh, I love the way that smoked paprika is adding smokiness to that chicken and just the overall flavor of it. But I do think we need a little bit of salt. Typically, I don't add salt into these meals until the very end because, as I explained earlier, during the canning process, Keystone only puts salt and meat into the cans. So you don't want to start off by throwing a bunch of salt in there because you could very easily oversalt everything. Let's throw a little bit in there, see if that helps. Overall, the flavors are really good in this. It's just a matter of giving it that extra little boost from a little bit more salt. It's so hot. Oh my goodness. But it's yummy. So now we're going to add our last ingredient, that being our powdered cream cheese. Let me turn the heat off because we don't want to risk burning it once we thicken it up a little bit. And let's see where we land on this. So this will be my first time using this cream cheese. So far, I've really liked all the products I've used from this company, so I don't imagine this will be any different. I just hope this is the right way to do this. A lot of times I'll mix it up with water before I put it in here, but I don't really see a need to do that. I don't want to thin this out anymore. And then hopefully with it being hot, it will help everything to just kind of dissolve into there. Getting a little clumpy up front, but I have a feeling that's going to smooth out. So we're going to let this sit for just a few minutes, let that cream cheese reconstitute and mix in with everything. And then we're going to serve it up. Can't wait for that. That's my favorite part. All right, let's get in here and see how this is set up. It looks like the cream cheese is still a little clumpy on top. Not thrilled about that, but I think that's mostly going to be an appearance thing. And then maybe after it sits in here a little while longer, it might start to dissolve a little bit more. But let's get a bowl and get us some of this. And of course, we're going to need some of our cornbread. Let's just get in there and grab a hunk of that, drop it on top. So there we have it. White bean chicken chili made with nothing but shelf-stable ingredients and off-grid cooking methods using, of course, Keystone chicken. But let's get in here and see what we ended up with now that everything has settled in. Let's get a bite of just this chili first. Cheers. That's delicious. I love the way this chicken breaks down into shredded chicken. It gives a great bite to this chili. It just feels and tastes like you're eating fresh cooked chicken. Let's get a bite with our cornbread. See how those two play together. Bon appetit. You know, the thing about chicken chili is that it's great for summer cooking because it's lighter than chili, but it has a lot of the same characteristics. It's very hearty, it's very flavorful, it's very rich, and you can do so many things with it. You can use it as a base and add all kinds of stuff into it to make it better. And of course, if you're not dealing with blackout, you can throw fresh cheese, sour cream, and a bunch of other stuff into that. and make something spectacular. Even if you're not dealing with emergency situations, I highly recommend using that Keystone meat. Look, they are not paying me to say this stuff. Let me tell you something 100% from my heart, from my belly. I love cooking with this stuff. No weird flavors, no weird textures. It's just almost like cooking with fresh meat. And I can guarantee you, put that chili in front of your family, they're not going to think you started with canned chicken. Let's throw a little hot sauce in here and kick this up. I have to make chili for my household on the mild side, so I like to kick mine up a notch. But I'm the only one who's going to eat it like this. There we go. I don't want to brag, well, not too much, but every one of these off-grid cooking dishes that I've made have been a giant hit with the family. Now, white chicken chili might not be something little kids are going to love, but then again, they might dig it. But most of the family is going to gobble this up. Now, I get a lot of questions about where to find the Keystone meats. Here's a list of the stores that typically carry it. I will say that Kroger in my area has only very recently started carrying it, but when it hit the shelves at their stores, it hit all their stores. So there's a good possibility you can find this on a shelf somewhere near you. Otherwise, just go to the source, buy it direct from Keystone, and then tell them Dad Budget Adventures sent you. All right, so that's it. That is our homemade, off-grid, Prepper's Pantry, shelf-stable, white bean chicken chili. Now I've got to go get that pot, take it in, and give it to the rest of the family because they've been smelling this the whole time it's been cooking and they are ready to chow down. As far as the Cooker King cookware, love it. That's good stuff. Y'all are going to start seeing that in a lot of videos. But until the next one, prepare for the world that you live in, not the one you wish existed. We'll see you next time. Chow down.